Hey there, pirates! Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. New revelations about Shanks are emerging in the latest One Piece manga chapters. This includes the powers of the one who arrived in Wano and Shanks' devil fruit. You'll see everything revealed in today's video. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Guys, thinking about a new Shanks appearing in Elbaf could change everything we understand about the One Piece universe. When the original Shanks appears in Chapter 1, he represents a mentor to Luffy, almost a symbol of freedom and the pirate spirit. But now, with the idea of an apparent brother or clone of Shanks in Elbaf, the possibilities become endless, especially when we add the concept of a devil fruit that might be a counterpart or even an opposition to the Hito Hito no Mi, model Nika, which Luffy possesses. If we consider Chapter 1044, where it's revealed that the Gomu Gomu no Mi is actually a myth about the legendary sun god Nika, it starts to make sense that there could be another fruit representing its opposite, perhaps a moon god or something similar. I think One Piece's mythology is filled with parallels, and the sun and moon often appear in opposition throughout the narrative. This could mean that just as the sun symbolizes joy and freedom, the moon might represent mystery, control, or a different kind of illumination. This duality can be explored in various ways, and a new Shanks with a fruit connected to the moon would be a powerful way to introduce this concept. Perhaps this Elbaf Shanks, whether a clone or a brother, has a past tied to the world government's experiments or the Seraphim technology introduced in Chapter 1065. We know Vegapunk can partially clone devil fruit abilities, as seen in the Pacifistas. So, this new Shanks might be the result of an experiment to replicate the power of the Hito Hito no Mi, model Nika. If that's the case, it paves the way for a Shanks who shares some of Luffy's powers, but with a distortion reflecting the moon instead of the sun. Another interesting point is that Elbaf has strong connections to mythology and celestial elements. In Chapter 866, we see how the Giants culture is rich in stories that reference deities and natural forces. If there's a place where the concept of rival gods could be explored, it's Elbaf. Perhaps the Giants have legends about Nika and an opposing figure, something that could directly link Luffy and this new Shanks to a greater conflict involving these two entities. The idea of an alternative Shanks could also tie into the actions of the world government. In Chapter 0, Shanks appears before the Five Elders, which has left many readers questioning his true relationship with the government. If this new Shanks is their creation, perhaps he was sent to Elbaf with a specific purpose, like capturing Luffy or even taking control of the Giants Island. This would set up an epic confrontation between two similar but ideologically opposed figures. I think the design of this moonfruit could complement Luffy's powers, but with opposite effects. While the Hito Hito no Mi, model Nika, allows Luffy to manipulate his body in a surreal way, almost like a cartoon, the moon god's fruit might offer more rigid control over the reality around it, something more tactile and dark. Perhaps it could create tangible shadows or manipulate gravity in ways that limit Luffy's freedom. This contrast in powers would not only be visually striking, but also philosophically profound, highlighting the struggle between freedom and control. Another possibility is that this alternative Shanks has a direct connection to Luffy's past. We know the original Shanks was responsible for protecting the Gomu Gomu no Mi before Luffy ate it, as shown in Chapter 1. Perhaps this new Shanks was created to correct what the world government sees as a mistake, Luffy becoming the bearer of the Hito Hito no Mi, model Nika. In that case, he could have been sent to bring balance, serving as an antidote to the chaos that Luffy represents. The relationship between the two Shanks is also worth exploring. If they're clones, maybe the original Shanks knows about his existence and sees it as a threat or a tool. If they're brothers, this adds an emotional layer to the conflict, as the Shanks we know might find himself torn between protecting Luffy and confronting his own past. In Chapter 434, Shanks makes it clear that he trusts Luffy to inherit his will, but what if this new Shanks has a completely different perspective on who deserves to carry that legacy? Moreover, this Shanks' presence in Elbaf could also be linked to the Owl Library and the Giants' legends. If he truly has a fruit connected to the moon god, perhaps he's there to seek something that amplifies his powers or to find answers about his own past. The Owl Library, mentioned as a place where books become giants, seems to hold ancient secrets, and it wouldn't be surprising if it contains information about Nika and its counterpart. I believe that the idea of an alternative Shanks with a fruit opposing Luffy's could take One Piece's story to a whole new level. It wouldn't just create a worthy adversary for Luffy, but would also add complexity to the relationships between characters and the universe's mythology. On the other hand, we need to discuss the clues indicating that the newly introduced character in Elbaf is unlikely to be the real Shanks. It might be a bit early to dismiss this possibility entirely, but considering what we know about Shanks and the events so far, everything points to something more complex and possibly related to scientific experiments and the plots involving Vegapunk Vegapunk and the world government. After all, Shanks has always been a figure of mystery, but his presence throughout the series doesn't suggest that he possesses or has interest in a devil fruit, making the existence of a fruit with similar or opposing abilities to Luffy's all the more intriguing. I think one of the reasons why the new Shanks in Elbaf is unlikely to be the original lies in the distinct behavior he seems to exhibit. Since Chapter 1, Shanks has been characterized as someone with a laid-back approach and a strong moral code. He values freedom and peaceful coexistence above all, as exemplified in moments like the confrontation with Higuma, where he doesn't react to provocation until his ally's safety is threatened. On the other hand, this new Shanks appears much more aggressive and calculating, which to me suggests he is a separate figure, perhaps a clone or even a long-lost twin, created or revealed by external forces to serve some greater purpose. The fact that Shanks has never shown interest in consuming a devil fruit is another crucial element. In Chapter 434, when Garp reveals that Shanks is one of the Yonko, there's no mention of any abilities suggesting he possesses a devil fruit. On the contrary, his reputation is built entirely on his strength, charisma, and mastery of hockey. He's the perfect example of someone who reached the top without relying on supernatural powers. This is further reinforced by his clash with Blackbeard, where the focus is on his hockey mastery rather than any devil fruit ability. Perhaps this means that the real Shanks views devil fruits as something misaligned with his vision of freedom, making it even less likely that he possesses the same fruit as Luffy or an opposing version of it. Considering the possibility of cloning, which has already been explored in the series through the Pacifistas and Seraphim, it's reasonable to think that the world government or even Vegapunk could have attempted to create an alternative Shanks. In Chapter 1069, we learn more about Vegapunk's scientific advancements, including the recreation of devil fruit powers. If this new Shanks is a clone, he may have been created to manipulate or confront Luffy in some way using a fruit similar or contrary to the Hito no Mi model Nika. This idea gains traction when we recall that the world government tried to hide the true nature of Luffy's fruit for centuries, as revealed in Chapter 1044. If they have the means to recreate or manufacture artificial fruits, they might have attempted to create a direct countermeasure against the sun god. Additionally, it's important to note that the real Shanks has close connections with the giants of Elbaf, as mentioned in Chapter 907. He is respected and welcomed in that territory, making it unlikely that he would act hostilely or manipulatively toward Luffy or any other ally in this context. This, to me, reinforces the idea that the Shanks appearing in Elbaf isn't the real one. Perhaps this clone or brother was sent to destabilize Luffy's relationship with the Giants, or even sabotage his journey in some way. I think this plot would add an extra layer of complexity and tension to the story, especially if the real Shanks is unaware of the existence of this other self. It's also worth considering that Shanks himself seems to occupy a unique position in relation to the world government. In Chapter 907, he meets with the Gorosei, raising several questions about his role and true objectives. If he were directly involved in the creation or manipulation of a clone or alternative figure, I believe it would be something done to protect Luffy or to advance some greater plan we don't yet fully understand. However, everything we know so far suggests that Shanks acts independently, and his relationship with the world government seems to be based on mutual respect rather than subservience. This makes it even less likely that he is behind the appearance of this new Shanks in Elbaf. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.